Program is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria. Good morning again. Welcome back to Business Daily here on Trust TV. Now, before the break, I started talking about the MPC meeting. It's actually currently ongoing. It's the first for the year 2026. Actually started on Monday, and today will be the concluding part. Say by 2 o'clock, we'll have the information, or better still, by end of business today, we'll have the information from the meeting, whether rates caught or not. But before that, what do we expect? What are economists saying? What are analysts saying out there? Joining us virtually to further discuss this and other conversations is Aliyu Ilias, an economist and business development expert. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you again. So before we get into the conversation of the MPC, let's look at some of our top stories earlier today. The U.S. Congress talking about having to, or before we get to that, let's go to the FG actually. The FG story and debt. And most of the domestic debt of the federal government is from the Treasury bills. Now, and we know that most likely we're going to do another one by next month. What brought about this really? The selling of the bonds is supposed to help the government, fund and find a way to run the country. I believe so. But how come that there's still so much debt to be paid? What does this actually mean for us as a country?
It's not bad to actually borrow, and sometimes most of us even prefer borrowing at home compared to borrowing outside, because if you borrow at home, the interest will also stay at home. However, what we borrow for is the key thing. In as much as we don't say borrowing is bad, but what are we actually borrowing for? And that's why Nigeria fiscal discipline must be on top gear, and the National Assembly must also make sure that they follow it better, because I'm sure that all these debts is being approved by the National Assembly. But in this case, when you look at the economy, I look at the money that is available for the federal government. You now imagine, why are we still borrowing to that level? Why are we going on our bond to actually get more money? From the information in the disposal, we discovered that Nigeria have more money, in the sense that there are more money through federal allocation to the states, and federal government is also trying to trickle with the sharing formula as well, so that federal government can also have more. And because of the responsibility of federal government in terms of first subsidy, in terms of first subsidy, protection of naira, all those things have been corrected, and government now have more money. But we still see government continue to borrow. So I think we have to have a clear project tied borrowing before we can actually borrow. I think National Assembly needs to do more to look into that.
Would the best course of action be not issuing bonds for a while so that we could come out of this situation that we found ourselves in?
But issuing of bond, I think it's either issuing of bond that going to anywhere, it's still borrowing. So we don't even need to talk about bond, because bond market is what want to be boom, but government should not borrow more. That's what we should say. The bond is the market, and it can, sukuk and all those ones are there, but government should itself give at least carry to hold on to some level and see. But you will see that even the upcoming budget is also deficit. So there's going to be room for more borrowing. So why don't we actually wait for that period? By the time the budget is being passed, then we know the level of debt that level of deficit, that then government can actually go ahead and borrow. But I assure you, it's going to be deficits, and government is going to borrow more.
All right, let's go over to the United States Congress recommending that blocking of beef exports from Nigeria is supposed to help disarm Fulani herdsmen. Maybe help us understand, the economic implications. Do the Fulani herdsmen actually understand that if this were to happen, that would in any way do anything to them? In quote, Fulani.
Well, for me, that approach is the wrong approach, and I wonder why legislature in the U.S. Congress will continue to look for a way to punish the entire country the more. They look for a way of bringing more difficulty and hardship to the country. If you say you want to stop exportation or importation of beef, from Nigeria because you want to punish Fulani herdsmen. What about the value chain that is attached to it? And when you say West Africa, other West Africa may have the way they are controlling them. Why not go directly and fight the Fulani herdsmen? Not saying that you are going to block people's economic life. And taking people's economic life have a lot of implication. I can tell you, even the exportation itself, most of the exportation are done by the Fulanis. They are done by businessmen who is actually doing their business. So when you now say you want to block people purchasing or exporting or importing from Nigeria down to US beef, that simply means that you're looking at giving the entire West Africa or the entire country called Nigeria a trouble in the economy. And you know that these are some people's livelihood. Why not go directly to this plan? Why not even encourage the federal government to create a ranch that you want to support creation of branch, and I'm sure US is involved and engage federal government that we are supporting you with X amount, supporting you with some strategy to actually create ranch state by state, that if anybody see heading cow around, they are going to face some trouble. This is what I think we should do. I've seen Borno are creating a ranch and encouraging people to actually go into the ranch. I can tell you example of Botswana. Botswana is a very small country. I'm not sure they are even up to 10 million, but they are exporting beef compared to Nigeria, and they don't have people roaming around with their cow. They have ranches everywhere in the country. So we should encourage ranching rather than say we should come. And federal government also must not wait for the hammer to be on the season before they can actually do the needful. I do not know why Tinubu led administration. We understood that Buhari was actually looking at not, stopping people, but Tinubu administration should be able to actually say yes, we are stopping, headers from taking cow around by 2027 December or January, so that by so doing there could be a target. The herdsmen themselves will know that now you have to go. Remember, even President Jonathan during his period created a nomadic environment and what have you. That has been eroded now. So President Bola Tinubu can build on that, because if you look at it, it will help the economy so well. Every Fulani will be, if it's a nomadic strategy. Every Fulani will go to school. You will not see them roaming around. Health-wise, it's not even making sense. If you even look at the animals, the cow, they are not looking healthy. But if you look at Botswana example I'm giving you, all their animals, all their cow, all their goats are looking very healthy with a lot of meat, which simply means more profit even for the headers. If they have their cow in the run. So for me, if you look at the economy, if you look at the output and the contribution of the exportation of meat outside Nigeria, you look at it has a high level impact on the GDP and the people way of life, even the general economy.
Of course, that will be the reason why the U.S. Congress will think that if we stop the export of beef, maybe that will happen. But the question will be, the man, the nomad on the street, does he understand what you're talking about? He's just going to go about taking his
The question is quite instructive that the elders, they don't even know what he's talking about. How many of them listen? To those things, and they believe doesn't stop them from actually. But then you're also eroding other people that are doing from farming. In terms of having cow and goats. I have some people that's their business. They're not even in the north; they're in the south. So a nomadic man, a average Fulani man, does not even know what they are actually talking about. So though in the long run, it may have some impacts on their case as well.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to our topic for today. The 304th MPC meeting taking place right now, actually, here in Abuja. Now, the meeting is underway here, and all eyes are on the central bank on whether they will adjust key monetary settings, particularly the monetary MPR, in response to evolving economic indicators. We've seen other countries, Ghana here, reduced rate. I think Rwanda and some other countries have reduced their rates as well. However, Namibia, I think, took their rate up a bit. Now, the meeting is, set to benchmark the MPC, actually, in case you're wondering who they are. benchmark interest rates and other monetary tools to directly influence inflation, lending costs, exchange rate stability, and overall economic activity. Now, this particular one is the first one for 2026, and it's coming at quite a time where we have a sustained moderation in inflation. That has actually been easing for 11 consecutive months, and it's dropped around 15.0% in January 2026. Equally, at a time whereby the naira is relatively stable. We're at 1,003 currently, from 1,003, just around that axis. And of course, our foreign reserve has gone up to about $48.0 billion. Now, this is what is happening. This indicators, these numbers. Now, Dr. Ilias, with these indicators, inflation is on a downward trend, FX is seemingly stable, foreign reserves are going up. What are your expectations of the MPC? What do you think will be the outcome?
Right. So I'd like to go through the last message of MPC during the last one. They made us know that they are signed that it's going to be going downward, and that the Nigerians should look forward to it going down as it was. So for me, I think what they would like to also do this with caution, which I will agree with them. Though, as a business person, we wouldn't like them to continue to sacrifice growth because they want to control interest rates, because they want to actually control FX. Because the negative impact is that the more you try to maintain the NPR, the more you kill small businesses. I can tell you most businesses are still struggling because they cannot go to bank. I can tell you as at yesterday, someone actually relates with me about a business the person wants to do, but they said the number one discouraging element is the level of interest rates that is going to actually pay in the bank or other monetary lending house. These are the problems. So for me, I see them doing about 50 basis points. It's going to be, it will now be, we are in 27%, maybe it will now be 26.50. That's what I'm actually looking at. Though that's not what we desire, because Nigeria should be around 23, 24 now. And you also made mention of some countries. The fact is that it is not one size fits all. What's happening in country A may not be what is happening and what is obtainable. Then the other macroeconomic indicator on this good side of the CBN, if you look at the FX, it's hovering around 313, and that's a good one. So it's a good reason that they should come down. If you look at, you made mention of foreign reserve, I think what we have now is unprecedented, which is 48. But sometimes you also wonder, you are borrowing, you are keeping money and you are borrowing. Sometimes you have to look at it very well. Why not be at maybe 40? Then you can use other 8 trillion to do something else. Though sometimes when you have such a humongous amount, it shows how strong you are to actually borrow. It's like a collateral to borrow again. So for me, I think 26.50, which will be what they would like to look at. They would like to do 50 basis points, even though, if you look at it critically, I think they should go down beyond that, maybe like 100. But I see them doing 50 basis points.
Okay, so you see them actually reducing the interest rates.
Right, but I would like them, if they are reducing it, they can maintain the asymmetric corridor, because corridor is also a factor. Recall that the last one was plus 50, is it minus 400 or so. I can't recall. If they can also maintain the corridor will also make it, in as much as 26.50, if you do the corridor, the asymmetric corridor, or you maintain that one, that simply means that it should not be up to 26.50 because of the asymmetric corridor.
Okay, now, peradventure, they don't reduce and they hold rates. What would that signify? Would it be showing a lack of confidence in the inflation continuity, or would it be seen as a caution?
Right. So ordinarily, we are coming from December. December itself has a way of maybe making inflation to actually a bit go up because of more purchase, more expenditure, people procure since the more. But as we are seeing, things are getting much more better. So I think they don't have reasons to maintain or to increase. They only have reason to reduce because the more you reduce, sometimes the more you give even investor confidence. So to give investor more confidence, to encourage more small businesses, I think it is ideal they actually come down. At least the minimum should be 50 basis points. I recall the last one they all agree, all of them, but this time around they may not all agree. But I think the reduction will have more upper hand compared to not reduce us to stay to maintain status quo. Status quo will not be a good one.
Okay, now let's go back to the FX market dynamics and the naira stability. How does this decision of the MPR, how does it affect that area?
Right. So the fact remains that we have what we call deflator. Now, deflator is it our FX. FX is a serious issue. People are not seeing it. Until we have FX less than 1,000, that's when we start having a better economy because virtually everything in Nigeria ties to foreign currency. You may not people expanding it, but in the long run, it also have its way. So now that we have a stable level of FX, it's hovering around 1,350, that I think it's a good one. So I don't think it's have negative impact for now. We only hope that if it goes down more, and that's why we said flotation of naira in the first place wouldn't be a good idea because you cannot say willing buyer, willing seller, and I'm sure they are also taking back that language. They are trying find a way to actually work on it. You recall they do a lot of things. You do reduction of people selling people in Bureau de change. They actually try to reduce so that it will help to control. If you go to other country, I tell you, I've been to some of them. Once you are trying to exchange your money, they will ask for your international passport. They will ask for a lot of details about it. They want to know why you're actually coming. So they are try to maintain and watch the volatility in that area. So until we actually work, you also see that manufacturing upon President Bola Ahmed Tinubu traveling out to actually woo investor, it's pretty difficult for us to get more because you're looking at our FX. You cannot even import a lot of things because of the level of FX. So it has a lot of implication if care is not taken. Now we have more possibility in terms of exportation, but we must also encourage, people that actually want to import. In Nigeria, we have not been able to solve our import substitution. We have not also been able to actually work on that to balance people. We may have balance of trade, balance of payment now, but the fact remains that how about bringing things inside us. So I think we need to work on that our FX very very well to encourage people to do business even locally because you need to import a lot of raw materials.
Okay, now let's look at coin because these things go in tandem. NPR rates, inflation numbers affect NPR rates, and that like that. So some cycle happening there. Now, what will be the impact of a rate cut on core versus food inflation in the short term?
That's a very good one. You see, rate cuts have a lot to do. First and foremost, like I said earlier, it brings about investors' confidence. And when investors have confidence, they can now come into the economy. Especially, I'm talking about industry, such as manufacturing and even agriculture. People will now be able to come there. And once people invest more in agriculture, invest more in manufacturing, that simply means that there will be much more employment. Remember, if industry are unable to actually do business, they will not employ, they will lay a lot of people off. But if they are in business, there will be employment. And once there is employment, there will be much more liquidity in the country. There will be much more purchasing power. There will be much more disposable income. It will also reflect in our GDP. So if we have a rate cut, it's going to have a lot of, trust, bring a lot of trust in the economy, and it will also give us upward trajectory. But if you have it sorry, that's also a negative. I can tell a lot of business are by the side watching the economy, watching the monetary policy, decisions making before they can actually bring their money. As a small business holder too, you look at it, if there's a rate cut, that simply means when you go to bank, you can access more loan, you can pay less in terms of interest rates, and you can actually get more profit. And when you get more profit, what does it actually do for you? You reinvest into the economy.
Okay. Now, we're in an election year, and as you always say, and a lot of my guests on this program, oh, it's an election year, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. A very, very, very question, because it's quite important, or rather, before in a pre-election year, rather. Now, is the disinflation trend robust enough? Because we're there 11 months. It's a beautiful thing we're saying. 11 consecutive months is going down. However, is it robust enough to withstand election-related fiscal pressures?
That's a very, Nigeria, we are not strong enough. That's why some of us even say, let us have 6 years or 5 years straight term, so that when people are not re-electing, sometimes because governors are going back, president is going back, you will see a lot of push. And I can tell you the push will come through foreign currency, because most of them will have to convert their money into that extent. And as you know, once it's pre-election year, people want to hoard a lot of money early so that they can have money to spend during the election. And once they hoard money, what happens? That means they have to convert it to dollar, euro, pounds. And by the time they convert it, that it will now give more strength to all this foreign currency. And once it gives more strength to foreign currency, the value will shoot. Now we are seeing about 1,350. We hope it will not get to 1,600 late this year, when the primary election will start. The plans will start. These are the problems. So it always have its negative impacts unless government can find a way, and there's no way they can actually do it. It's more of tension, and we hope that government will also put an eye on the state governments, because we've had rather situation whereby most states, once they get their allocation, they go back to actually change it to foreign currency. And once they change to foreign currency, it comes back to affect the economy. So I think federal government should be on the lookout. Meanwhile, when I say federal government, who's actually contesting? It's not people in power that actually contest. So it's become difficult for. But I think President Tinubu and especially central bank can find a way to actually caution that and be a total watchdog on that area.
Well, you have a very valid point when you say federal government, but then the president is contesting. The minister and the CBN governor and all the people of the MDAs, they are not contesting, and they have some sort of oversight, jobs to do. So yes, the federal government in that regard actually should be able to do something about it for those who are appointed and not contesting for any positions. Now,
those that are appointed, who appoint them?
Well, yes, of course, it's an elected official. So
President Tinubu actually appointed them, and they are going to be in support of President Tinubu to come back. So if there is a different method they want to do everything to make sure that they are boss, or what they call it, the person that appoint them actually come back to power. So that may not be correct, because sometimes that's what we call political economy. In political economy, people will take political reasons over economic reasons, and that's where we must go out of. But in a country developing economy like Nigeria, political reasons supersede mostly ahead of the economy. So, and who is in charge of the economy? Is it not the political appointees that are in charge of the economy? So they will do what will benefit them, what will make them to stay in the office, what will make them to continue and stay in power. And that's why we must make sure that we do that. Like other time, they don't mix the two. But in Nigeria today, I can tell you, the two actually work together, political economy.
All right, still staying with political economy, just was something you mentioned earlier. Do you believe, or do you think that Nigeria, I know it's a political question, but economically wise, we're going to tune it economically. Do you believe or think that having a single term will be better for the economy in Nigeria as opposed to this, 2-term, 4-year that we run right now?
Yes, I'll be on the side that 6 year terms will help or 5 year terms will help. Because once you know that you're actually coming to the power and you know your end time, you like to do what you want to do. And there will not be pressure on Nigeria, there will not be pressure on the economy, there will not be taking advantage of office. And apart from that, self, you remember, let me give you an example of Governor Soludo. Governor Soludo in his first term does not have the confidence, does not have the political sagacity to say that if you don't go to market, if you don't do business on Monday, I
Okay.
will not allow you. But when he
Okay.
came back to second term, he knows that he's not seeking for any re-election. He now said, yes, you must open market on Monday. If you don't open on Monday, I will also close it for the rest of the week. What happened? He has that confidence because he knew that he's not seeking for any political office in that state again. The same thing happens to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has some things he would have done now. But he's thinking, I'm going for re-election. If I actually do it, it may come back, it may boomerang and help. Let me give you a good example again. President Muhammadu Buhari, knew that if you remove subsidy before the election, President Tinubu may not have his way into the office. So imagine if he had removed the fuel subsidy 5 months before his tenure elapsed. Who would have voted for his party? No one. And that's why the political economy now comes in. They advise him that no, let the next government take over. And President Tinubu also very smart, remove it from day one. He didn't give room for any discussion. And now most of us are
We've all
adapted
adjusted to it.
to his, so that's it. So it's a political economy decision. But for me, I would like to go for a single term. That would definitely help.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your take on that. Just last question, and then we would the program would end. Now, is rate cut the best tool to stimulate real sector growth, or do we equally have to do liquidity management to be prioritized? Now, I'm going to say this because of last week or so, we had the CBN governor talking about the fact that elections, liquidity is going to be an issue, and that might affect all the gains that have been made. So, do these things have to work hand in hand to see that, there's a real growth?
So countries that have less than 5% MPR, do they have to worry? Countries that have 2%, MPR interest rate, do they have to worry? They don't have to worry when it comes to election. It's because we have a humongous 27%. That's why we're actually worried. And I share with CBN governor, I assure you, liquidity is going to be an issue during election. Even look at FCT election ordinarily. In some quarters, we saw a lot of adverts, going on. To do adverts, does it come with cheap money, let alone the national election? I'm talking about vote buying and other things that may not be able to substantiate. But the one who can see, one is election, every governor will come out to do adverts, will spend more money, they will introduce more social welfare scheme, a lot of development will come. That is money. So liquidity is going to be everywhere, and it definitely may affect the economy. In fact, liquidity is not even, is a small part of it. What about the converting of money to foreign currency?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your insight in our conversation this morning. Thank you, Dr. Aliyu Ilias.
Thank you for having me.
And that was Dr. Aliyu Ilias, an economist and development expert, who was talking to us about the MPC expectations of the MPC 304th meeting taking place currently in Abuja. Today is the last day of the meeting. It started actually yesterday on Monday. And he hopes that they cut rates down, and he thinks that they won't do more than 50 basis points. That's his own opinion. That's his own belief.
You should have just said me what you
Let's see how the day goes. By the end of business, of course, pick up your papers, pick up your phones, listen to your TV sets, watch your TV sets for information on if the MPC were to cut it actually cut rates or maintained the rate as it is. That's it for Business Daily this morning. I've been your host, Chiamaka Nwafor. Same time, same place tomorrow. Bye for now. This program is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.